Hello and welcome. This is Video Master Vedant Goswami. In today's video, we are going to look at a very interesting trap in the Berlin defense. It is known as the Mortimer Trap. And while we look at the trap, we'll also uh, look at the thinking process you can employ to avoid falling into traps in any position where usually opponent plays a surprising move or free stuff is on offer. So a lot of the times I see, particularly with beginners or people who don't have much experience in competitive chess, uh, when opponent offers something, they simply grab it without spending a moment thought. So everything is not free. So a lot of times it can be free, but it can also be a trap. So whenever you're going to grab anything free, that is the time you have to spend a bit of time and thought to make sure that what is on offer is actually free and not a trap. So we'll see how that works and what are the things to watch out for. So the game starts with e4, e5, nf3, nc6, bishop b5, which is a Rui Lopez opening, nf6, which is the Berlin defense, and d3, a very solid move protecting the e4 pawn and threatening the e5 pawn, because now when white captures the knight on c6, the e5 pawn will be free for taking. Okay, and in this position, uh, there are many moves for black. Black can simply play like d6, some very simple continuation, planning to complete development, or even there's a move like bishop c5. Bishop c5 is also an interesting idea, with the idea that if white goes ahead and grabs the pawn, then it is slightly tricky, because now black can win material using the threat of checkmate. So worth remembering and noting, this is a trap which can be used by black. And let us go back to the main game. In this game, and in this particular trap, black chooses to play an e7. Now, there are two advantages to this move, mainly psychological in nature. First, it is a very typical beginner's move. A lot of times when I'm teaching, uh, students don't realize that if white is allowed to capture on c6, it will be a simple exchange of pieces, because the bishop can be recaptured by either of the pawns. Okay, so you actually don't need to move it. Now, the second is, because it looks like a beginner move, if white is not very experienced, it looks like suddenly the e5 pawn is free, it is on offer, and you can take it. So one advantage of this particular trap is that it looks like a very typical beginner move which has been made without any much thought or consideration or planning. Okay, so, and it is very easy to fall into it. So the point is, when knight e5 goes, see now, what is the main thing in the position? There are two weaknesses. Okay, so in chess, we have a theory of two weaknesses. So if you have two weaknesses, basically, they can be exploited. There can be some sort of double attack, and you can find yourself on the receiving end. So now, if white were an experienced player, and basically, they will recognize that there's some danger, because, once the knight captures on e5, the knight itself is unsupported and the bishop also. Okay, so there are two unsupported pieces, and experienced players develop some sense of danger over time, that, when there are too many hanging pieces or unsupported pieces, it is always tricky, because it will give opponent some opportunity. And here it comes like c6. A very simple move, attacking the bishop and also opening the diagonal of the queen to give check from a5. Now, the piece cannot be saved. One of the pieces is gone. So because let us say if I put the bishop here, the queen comes to a5 and it is a simple double attack. Okay, and it is similar with bishop a4, because again queen a5. Now the bishop can be saved because the knight can be developed to c3, but still you lose the knight on e5. Okay, so a very interesting trap which you can try in your games, maybe online or or even over the board, because let us say white does castle, you can develop the knight to g6, still supporting the pawn, and then planning to continue development by bishop e7 and castling. But the important thing and the most important lesson from this game is that whenever you see something free on offer, do not take it immediately. So that is the time you have to apply some thought, make sure that it is actually a mistake by the opponent and not a trap, and apply some discretion before jumping ahead and grabbing the free stuff. So this is the lesson that we can draw from it, and there will be many such positions and traps which you can avoid by simply applying some thought and simply not grabbing free stuff believing that it is free. Okay, so I hope you found it interesting, and also the thought process that goes behind this. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson.